Today in math, we're going to continue studying the area of rectangles, and today we're going to introduce a new concept called perimeter. Can you say perimeter? Today we're going to start by focusing on watching a video to help us distinguish the difference between area and perimeter.
It's the year 2060 and you're colonizing Mars. You're about to buy a plot of land, but you have a dog and you want to make sure he has enough space to run around. You also want to build a fence so he can't escape. So first you want to know how big the backyard is, and then you want to know how far it is around. To figure this out, you have to find
the area, that's the space inside. For a rectangle, its length and width are multiplied. And perimeter, the distance around a shape. Just add the sides together and then you'll be great with the area. That's the space inside. For a rectangle, its length and width are multiplied. And perimeter, the distance around a shape. Just add the sides together and then you'll be great. Yeah, here I am on Mars, trying to find out the size of my backyard. Well, it's a rectangle, right? So what if we cut it into squares of the same size that are 1 unit long by 1 unit wide? These are called square units. Add them all up, surprise! You got 72 square units, or feet, cause that's the unit we're using. But who has time to count squares? Length times width is the quickest way to get there. Yeah, that's how you find the area. A nice little formula that'll take care of ya. And I need to hurry cause my dog is starving. Let's find the area so I can feed Marvin. My yard is 9 feet long by 8 feet wide. I get the area when I multiply each side. And 9 times 8 is 72. But here's another way for you to think it through. Basically, you take the rows and figure how many square units fit inside of those. Yo, my backyard is wide, 8 feet. So that's 8 rows with 9 square units in each. So multiply the 8 rows by the 9 square units, you get 72. Yup, you knew it. The area, that's the space inside. For a rectangle, its length and width are multiplied. And perimeter, the distance around a shape. Just add the sides together and then you'll be great with the area. That's the space inside. For a rectangle, its length and width are multiplied. And perimeter, the distance around a shape. Just add the sides together and then you'll be great. Now I've got my area for my yard on Mars, and there's plenty of room for Marvin to live large. But now I need a fence cause I heard the animals on Mars could be intense. So I'll need the perimeter, the distance around my whole yard. How do you get it? Yeah, just add up the length of the sides. 9 plus 8 plus 8 plus 9's a perimeter of 34 feet. And oh yeah, that's regular units and not units squared. So let's take a look from another angle. To get the perimeter of a square or rectangle, you add 2 widths plus 2 lengths. Here's a formula, don't forget to say thanks. 2 times length plus 2 times width to get a square or rectangle's perimeter quick. So let's try it with my Martian backyard. Come on, get ready, y'all. It's not that hard. 2 times the length of 9 is 18. And 2 times the width of 8 is 16. And 16 plus 18 is 34. Now if I could stop Marvin from making a dirty floor. Come on, Marvin. Seriously.
All right, the next thing that we need is our math notes with the purple tape and a pencil. Math notes with purple tape and a pencil. Get that ready, please. The first thing we're going to write in our notes is the title. Our title is Area and Perimeter. We have been studying the area of shapes. We know that the area is the space inside a shape. And today we're going to connect these 2 math ideas. So first, we're going to figure out what perimeter is. In the vocabulary, it talked about perimeter as measuring the distance around a shape. I'm going to draw an example of a shape. in my notes. We know that the area is the space inside. So I'm going to compare that to the perimeter. The perimeter is the distance around. If I measure the length and width, the perimeter is the distance around the outside of the shape. Let's do an example together. I'm going to write EX for example, and then I'm going to draw another model. After I draw my model, I'm going to label my length and width. Let's
Does it have to
pretend.
be perfect?
Go ahead, Kaylee.
Does it have to be perfect?
No, ma'am. Just draw a model. Good question. Let's pretend this is a picture frame that I want to hang in my house, and I need to know the area and perimeter. So let's pretend that my picture frame is 9 inches long and 5 inches wide. Please label your length and your width, just like I have done. All right, let's start by talking about the area in our example. To find the area of a shape, we know we can count the square units inside, or we can multiply length times width. Length times width. So for this example, using my picture frame, I know my length is 9 inches and my width is 5 inches. To find the area, I can multiply length times width. I know I get a product of 45 because 9 times 5 is 45. So the area of my shape, A is short for area, is 45. Now I need to think about how I write area. I know we use the word square. Square what? What did I measure in? Okay, I see inches, so I need to finish it. 45 square inches. Perfect. I have now found the area of my picture frame. Now that we have found the area, it's time to talk about perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around the shape. Let's look at our example of my picture frame and let's find the perimeter of this shape. So I'm going to look at my shape and I'm thinking about measuring around my picture frame. Perimeter can be found by adding all of the side lengths together. So perimeter can be found, P for perimeter. Perimeter is equal to adding your length plus length plus width plus width. My rectangle has 4 sides, 2 lengths, that would be top and bottom, and 2 widths, that would be the left side and the right side. To find the perimeter, I can add all of the sides together to find how long the distance is around the shape. So let's do that. To find the perimeter, I know that my shape is 9 inches long on the top, which means on the bottom side, it's also 9 inches long. So these are my lengths. I can put it here in my equation and say 9 plus 9 plus, I have now put both of my lengths into my equation. Next, to find the perimeter, I need to add the other sides, which are the widths. This side and this side. These are my widths. So I know this side says it's 5 inches long. That means over here, it's also 5 inches long. So in my equation, I've got 2 W's because I have 2 sides to add. I'm going to add 1 5 plus my other side. Then I'm going to stop and make sure I have 4 sides that I'm adding together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm ready to measure the distance around my shape. So I'm going to add these together to find the perimeter. 9 plus 9 plus 5 plus 5. Do that now and see if you can figure out what the distance is around the shape. When we add all of the lengths together, I know that 9 plus 9 is 18. That's a fact that I have memorized. I know that 5 plus 5 is 10. So 18 plus 1 more 10 would be 28. So the perimeter is 28. 28 what? Ice cubes? 28 Skittles? What did I measure? I measured inches around my picture frame. So 28 inches. When we measure perimeter, we do not measure with squares because we're not counting squares inside the shape. We're only counting how many inches around the outside of the shape. So that would be my correct answer for perimeter. I now know the area and perimeter of my picture frame. On Seesaw today, please go to Activities, Assign to Class folder, blue for math, and our task is called Rectangles with the Same Area, Different Perimeter. Please open to that assignment now. Our success criteria today is focusing on identifying and drawing rectangles with the same area, but different perimeters. Go to slide 3. We're going to work on this example together as we practice finding the perimeter of a rectangle. You're going to work with me, so you will do exactly as the teacher does. To find the perimeter, we know we can add the length plus the length plus the width plus the width. We know that we can do this to find the distance around the shape. Look at the example in front of us. We have a rectangle. I do not see a length or a width. So I need to count to see what the width is, what the length is. Let's do that together. I'm going to use purple because I like purple. And I'm going to start with the width. I see I have a grid background with some squares. So I know that this is 1 square, 2 squares, 3 squares long. I can label 3 units long. If the left width is 3 units long, that means the right side is going to match. This is 1, 2, 3 units long. Label your widths just like I did. Now we can find the length. I'm going to count the squares to determine how long each length is. I'm going to start all the way to the left and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares long. I can label my length with a 5. If this length is 5, the opposite side is also 5. I can count just to be sure and check my work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, I was correct. Now I have a length and width labeled for my example. Now it's time for me to find the perimeter. I can find the perimeter by adding the length plus the length plus the width plus the width. Let's do that together. First, I'm going to add my lengths into my equation. So 5 plus 5. I have now put both of my lengths into the equation. Now I can put my widths into the equation. Plus 3 plus 3. My rectangle has 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. So I'm going to add all of them together to find the perimeter. 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 3 is 13, plus 3 more is 16. So my perimeter is 16 units. I was not able to measure in I'm not able to measure in inches or feet or yards. I don't know what this is, but I do see units here. These are square units. So my perimeter is units. Great job. Fill that in, and we're going to move to example 4, slide 4, to find the area together. On slide 4, we're going to find the area of this shape. It's the same example from slide 3. So I'm going to quickly label my length and width. I remember that my length was 5 and my width was 3. You should have yours labeled just like mine. After I've labeled my length and width, I can remind myself how to find the area. It says I can multiply length times width. So 5 times 3 will give me the area of this example. 5 times 3 gives me a product of 15. Since I'm measuring area inside, I know I'm talking about squares inside the shape. So I need to write square and I don't know what I'm measuring by. I don't have anything next to it, so I'm just going to use the word units. If we did not measure with something specific, we can say units. We are going to start looking at this video from Mrs. Sousa. You are focusing on how she can create 2 rectangles with the same area, but different perimeters, how they can be different shapes.
Today, you have been asked to demonstrate understanding of how to create 2 rectangles with the same area or the same square units inside of a shape, but a different perimeter or a different amount of space around the outside edges of the shape. To do so, we're going to take a look at this example. Today, you will create 2 rectangles with different lengths and widths that have the same area that has been given to you. In this case, the area is 12. Then you are going to record the perimeter or the space around the shape to describe the rectangle's perimeter. Then you will make sure that you count both sides of those corner squares inside of that perimeter. And finally, you will fill in the equations. So as you can see, we have been asked today to find an area of 12. So we're going to need 12 of these square units. In order to start building a rectangle, I have to first think about my possible lengths and widths. We know that in area, we multiply the length and the width together. So I could start with 1 because we know that in multiplication, any number times 1 is itself. The problem is I don't have 12 squares of a workspace. So 1 is not going to be my best bet. So now I can think about moving up a factor to 2. I could create row of 2 or a column of 2. Let's see if 2 will help me get to 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Hey, it will. So I can count by 2s and get up to 12 square units. So far I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to keep going until I get to 12. 5, 6. I like to record how many I've added so far because that helps me keep track. If you're able to do it without that, that's totally fine. 9, 10, 11, 12. Beautiful. So just like we predicted, we were able to get to 12 counting by twos. So we have a width of 2 square units, and we have a length of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 square units. So my area that I used, or the dimensions that I used to find an area of 12 are 2 times 6 is equal to 12. And again, we have to have our label that tells us we're working with area. Otherwise, it could be confusing and perceived as perimeter or some other type of object. So 2 times 6 gives us an area of 12 square units. We know that when we're adding our perimeter, we're going to take each of the 4 sides, both of our lengths of 6, and both of our widths of 2, and we're going to add those together. What I like to do when I'm counting the perimeter is put a tick mark on each edge between the square units. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have to be careful that I'm not counting the number of squares because that would leave out this edge of the same square. So I'm counting the number of edges or spaces between the unit squares. So this has 2, so we've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's that tricky edge again. 15, 16. So our perimeter is going to be 16 units. We found that by adding both of our lengths, 6 plus 6, and both of our widths of 2 plus 2.
Okay, so Mrs. Sousa has just created one rectangle with an area of 12, and then she found the perimeter. She found the perimeter is 16 units. Her task today says she needs to create 2 rectangles. So the next video on slide 6, we're going to see how Mrs. Sousa came up with another rectangle that also has an area of 12, but a different perimeter. It's a different shape than the first one she did. Let's focus and watch this example because this is what you're going to do today.
As we know, we're not done with this problem because our directions asked us to create 2 rectangles. So far, I've only created 1. I've used the factors 2 and 6. So when I create a purple rectangle, I can't use the factors of 2 and 6. When I made the last rectangle, I got rid of 1 as an option because I don't have 12 spaces in which to work. 2 has already been used, so now I'm going to think about creating a rectangle with a dimension of 3. So let's think about 3s. If I multiply by 3s, will I say 12? Will I get to 12? 3, 6, 9, 12. I will. And I did that by counting by 3s 4 times. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in 4 inside of each row of my rectangle. Then I can just fill in the rest of my rectangle and know that because I was careful with my dimensions in length and width, I'm going to have a total of 12 square units. Now I'm going to label my length and my width. I can see that I have a length of 4 units. I can see that I have a width of 3 units. So my area is equal to 4 times 3, which we know gives us 12 square units, as we've proven in our illustration, and as was described for us in our directions. To find the perimeter, I'm again going to count those spaces between the square units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, there's that tricky corner, 12, 13, 14. So again, we're very careful to make sure that we count each time the edge of a shape that is shown, whether it's on the same square like this blue corner is down here. There are 2 edges of this square on the outside perimeter of the shape, so we count both. So now I will record my perimeter equation, which is my lengths of 4 and 4, and my widths of 3 and 3. 4 plus 4 was 8. 3 plus 3 was 6. 8 plus 6 is equal to 14. And again, we're working with units. So whether I count the edges one by one, or I add them using the dimensions, I'm going to get the same answer. We can see that we have 2 rectangles with the same area of 12, but different perimeters.
Thank you, boys and girls, for focusing your attention. Today, your task. It is almost time for your work time. Starting on slide 7, it says practice. This is your turn. You need to complete the rest of the slides today using the knowledge that I and Mrs. Sousa have shown you today. You need to read the problems, follow the directions to find the area and perimeter of 2 rectangles with the same area, different perimeters. If you get stuck, you have the videos on slide 5 and slide 6 to watch again to help you. It is now your work time. Your job is to start on slide 7 and finish all of the slides. Are there any questions before you go?